All right, welcome back. The Court of Appeal Abuja fixed Wednesday to consider the merit of the application by the Independent National Electoral Commission, which they filed asking to be allowed to reconfigure the bimodal voter accreditation system, otherwise known as BVAS, which was used for the just concluded presidential election. Now, after the three-man panel of the Court of Appeal listened to the parties in the matter, Justice Joseph High adjourned the ruling on the matter till Wednesday. Peter Obi and his Labour Party, through their team of lawyers led by Onyechi Ikpeazu, SAN, said the essence of the application was to enable them extract data embedded in the BVAS, which represents the actual results from the polling unit. This is the application by Labour Party to physically inspect the materials. They equally applied to obtain the certified true copy of all the data in the BVAS. However, I.N.E.C, through its team of lawyers comprising 4 senior advocates of Nigeria, SANs, led by Mr. Tanimu Inua, urged the court to refuse the application, insisting that granting the request by the Labour Party and its presidential candidate, Peter Obi, would affect its preparations for the impending governorship elections and, of course, state houses of election, assembly elections. Now, I.N.E.C told the court that there are 176,000 BVAS devices that were deployed to polling units during the presidential election. We'll look at how all this will affect the outcome of a legal tussle and indeed the presidential election organized a couple of Saturdays ago. Chris Mustafa Nwokobia is our guest this morning. He is a public affairs analyst and he joins us via phone from Asaba, capital of Delta State, Nigeria. Chris Nwokobia, thank you very much for your time.
It's my pleasure to be on with you.
All right. The Labour Party has applied and has been granted leave to inspect election materials that I.N.E.C has. And I.N.E.C, from what I know, from what I've seen and observed, will always give you a printout if you want to have the BVAS data. They can give you a printout. But what we hear from Labour Party is that they want to physically inspect these materials. I.N.E.C is saying we can't allow you physically inspect and download data from the BVAS because we have to organize elections in a few days' time, and we need to reconfigure these devices so that we can use them for the governorship and state houses of assembly elections. Now, in your opinion, of course, the court will rule what they will give their ruling or judgment today. But in your opinion, should I.N.E.C be allowed to go away with these devices, seeing we have just a few days? Today is Wednesday, so in the next 3 days, elections will be up.
Let me say clearly that it would have been a lot easier to trust the position of I.N.E.C had they organized a free, fair, credible, and transparent election on the 25th of February. But now, having even admitted that they had glitches in the conduct of that election, and the election result having been widely condemned as not reflecting the wishes of the people, the position of my party, the position of my presidential candidate, and the position of a legal team is very clear. We want to inspect, we want to verify, we want to authenticate what is in the BVAS, and that is the least to ask of, considering what the situation presently is. And I think the same goes for the PDP. So we expect the court to be proactive. We expect the court to understand the urgency and the reality of now. And then let me also say that I.N.E.C, having understood that it will be conducting an election 2 weeks after the presidential, that's the National Assembly election, it should have made provision for it. And I also believe, this is my own little understanding of technology, that you can save the details of the BVAS and then transmit it quickly to the political parties because they want the details. and then you reconfigure. The court may work that part. But what is important is, in the worst case, there is nothing difficult in asking for an extra week so that the Labour Party, the PDP, and those who are interested in inspecting and authenticating the details in the BVAS can have time to do that before you conduct. These are my positions, because I do not, and that goes for my political party and my principal, Peter Gregory, we do not trust whatever comes from I.N.E.C today, because I.N.E.C has shown an unwillingness to allow the will of the people to prevail. What happened on the 25th of February, according to international observers, was short of due process. According to local observers, was shambolic. According to political parties, was a travesty of justice, travesty of the electoral will of the people. And so I do sincerely think that the court will rise to the ante and ask I.N.E.C to avail the BVAS to the parties asking to inspect and authenticate the details therein.
All right. Chris Nwokobia, I really thank you for putting that caveat out there, because you're a member of the Labour Party's Presidential Campaign Council, as well as convener of the Country First movement. And this great you actually pointed that out so that we can know where you're coming from. Chris, are you saying that the governorship election should be put on hold? Is that what you're saying? Because today is Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. We have less than 3 days for that election to hold. This is 8:15. So are you saying we should put the governorship elections on hold simply because your party wants...
What doing at all? What doing at all is what doing well. You do not, because we want to conduct the state government and local government elections, the state government and state houses of assembly elections, subvert the call of the presidential candidates who lost, allegedly lost in the election, to prove their case. You cannot. And at the core of our presidential democracy is the number one position. We have an election that was more of a selection. And I'm saying this broadly, not because I spoke for Peter Gregory, or not because I'm in the Labour Party Presidential Council, not because I'm in the Big Tent. I speak broadly because the Nigerian people stepped out in the rain and the sun to vote. There was voter suppression. There was collation of figures that are absolutely different from the figures that people have from the polling agents and the polling units. So what is important for us is to prove first that that election was less than free and fair. And so it wouldn't take anything for the umpire to take another week to ensure that the Labour Party and the PDP investigates, inspects, and takes the data that they need from the BVAS. It won't cost anything. What is what, like I said, what doing at all is what doing well. We can have two major elections on our hands, and both of them largely flawed. We want to have a gubernatorial and a state houses of assembly elections that are considered credible. But we will not sacrifice our quest to prove that the 25th of February election was shambolic on the altar of convenience and exigency.
Okay, so I need you to state categorically. Are you saying that it's Labour Party saying, are you as a member of the Labour Party's Presidential Campaign Council saying that the governorship elections, which I.N.E.C needs the BVAS to organize, should be postponed till you're done?
I haven't said so. I have said that I.N.E.C must avail the Labour Party legal team the details in the BVAS. So it depends on whether I.N.E.C can do that between now and Saturday. I haven't said so. We must have the details of what is on the BVAS, in the BVAS. We must have sufficient facts to prove our case. And that's primary for us. That's the most important thing for us now.
But I mean, if you follow the Osun governorship election petition, the case, you would realize that the parties involved, including the legal team for the governorship candidate who who lost the election, applied to I.N.E.C for a printout of the BVAS details. They got a printout. So, I mean, you can simply work with the printout. I mean, it's simple. You don't need to go through the BVAS to physically download. You can just ask I.N.E.C, give us a printout, and they'll give it to you. If they can do that before Saturday. If they can do that before Saturday.
Okay, look at what I'm saying simply. You don't just, I.N.E.C wouldn't just give you. Our legal team and our forensic team will have to be there once that is done. And if I.N.E.C says that can be done between now, before Saturday, when they will, before Thursday, Friday, when they should deploy to the states, all well and good. But what I'm saying is that we must have access to the information necessary to prove that 25th of February 2023 was a shambolic election, was far from free, fair, and credible. We need all the facts that I.N.E.C must provide regarding that. And we're not joking about it. It is to deepen our democracy. It's for the good of our democracy. We must prove that Nigerians deserve and demand a president they can trust. Nigerians want to be able to say to the Independent National Electoral Commission, you have done well or you have done very poorly. And so we have to prove our case. So for us now, what is most important, and that's why we went to court, is to prove that the election on February 25th was bungled and that the right winner should be declared the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And the courts will help us in doing that because we will argue our case profoundly, profusely, and effectively. That's exactly what our position is.
Okay, Chris, I've been trying to scroll to the relevant section of Electoral Act so that I can quote it verbatim. And the Electoral Act has an answer for you. It has an answer for your candidate, Peter Gregory B. It has an answer for your party, Labour Party. And this is what it says in Section 62. And you're well versed in the laws of the land by virtue of what you do, so you'll know this better than I do. It says in Section 62 of the Electoral Act, subsection 1, after recording, let me go to subsection 2 anyway. It says the Commission shall compile, maintain, and update on a continuous basis a register of election results to be known as the National Electronic Register of Election Results, which shall be a distinct database or repository of polling unit by polling unit results, including collated election results. So apart from the unit results, you have the collated results as well, of each election conducted by the Commission in the Federation. And the register of election results shall be kept in the electronic format or in electronic format by the Commission at its national headquarters. Now it says any person, including you or I, Chris, any person or political party may obtain from the Commission, on payment of such fees as may be determined by the Commission, a certified true copy of any election result kept on the National Electronic Register of Election Results for a state, local government area, area council, registration area, or electoral ward or polling unit, as the case may be, and the certified true copy may be printed or in electronic format. So it's available to you. You can get a copy. You don't need to possess the BVAS. What is this compulsion?
Interestingly, we're not asking to possess the BVAS.
Okay.
We're asking to investigate and inspect because not follow the guidelines. We're asking to have first-hand information of what happened. We're asking to understand why the BVAS could not transmit election results premium time. There's so many questions. So INEC will first of all have to prove to the Nigerian people and indeed the courts why it could not transmit results. And our IT experts will have to inspect and investigate. That was why the court allowed it. And before INEC went to court asking for the right to reconfigure, that they needed it to reconfigure. So we're talking about an unusual situation, and that's exactly why our assistance is an investigating, inspecting, and authenticating the details that they have with them.
Yeah, but if your legal team and if you say have IT experts want to, when you say you want to observe, what exactly do you want to observe?
Number one, why were results not transmitted from the polling unit?
No, sir. I mean, when you say you don't want to possess the BVAS, but you want to observe, how do you mean?
We want to know exactly what happened because INEC did not follow the guidelines. You just read part of the Electoral Act. INEC did not conform with the terms of the Electoral Act. And so up till now, you know that the INEC website does not have the full results of polling unit to polling unit of the 25th of February election. Are you aware?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we need to know exactly what happened.
Okay, but this information rather, is not on the BVAS because they were not uploaded.
Are you an expert to know that?
Well, if they were...
Let the expert prove. Let the expert prove it.
Okay, but I mean, the commission has the power, is empowered by law, to upload the information to a database. And if you apply, you yourself, sir, or myself, we apply, they will give you a printout.
Leonard Silks, the senior advocate of Nigeria who is taking the case to court, understands the urgency and the reality. And some of us who also as lawyers understand that we need to prove our case beyond a reasonable doubt. And what INEC has and what INEC did on the 25th of February is absolutely shambolic, is a disgrace to what should obtain in electoral processes. I think it's the worst election in our country's history, and so we want to do what is needful and right.
I ask again, how will this work? Okay, how will this work? You know, if your legal team, they want to physically inspect the devices, the BVAS machines. Okay, I mean, are they going to ask the INEC officials to put them on? Then are they going to go through the device themselves? I mean, I just want to understand how this will work.
If INEC wants to configure, that means they can call for the dealer. So before they reconfigure, why can't they allow the legal team, along with our IT experts, to inspect and validate the information on the BVAS? What's difficult about it?
We have 176,000 BVAS devices, Chris Mustafa Nwokobia. Are you telling me that your lawyers would sit down and go through each of them one by one? I'm just asking. You know, is that necessary?
How are they going to reconfigure? If they can
I don't work in I.N.E.C. I wish I worked in I.N.E.C. I could
access to the data on all the BVAS before the election. That's what we're asking.
What will your party do if the appeal court, the Court of Appeal, grants I.N.E.C. that request to reset the BVAS for the governorship election?
We will cross it, but we're insisting on due process.
Okay, so are you assuming that by reconfiguring, the data will be wiped?
Well, why is INEC insisting on not allowing it? If it is not because they want to surreptitiously cover the details that will reveal the electoral larceny that happened on the 25th of February.
All right. Some people have said that I.N.E.C, you know, with the amount of money given to it, including brand new minted or mint new naira notes. When the rest of us are looking for these notes, some have said that I.N.E.C should have gotten a second set of BVAS devices for the state elections. Do you agree with this view?
I think that after this election, what civil society groups, what the EFCC, what the ICPC, and the whistleblowers must do is to push for an investigation of what I.N.E.C did with over 300 billion. I think it's important that we understand what they did with the resources and why they couldn't get two sets of BVAS, one for the National Assembly elections and one for the state gubernatorial and state assembly elections. I think it's a major inquisition that we must all do.
All right. At this point, is your party, because the People's Democratic Party, they have their own legal process they've started, and the Labour Party has their own legal process they've started. Do you think there's, at some point, both parties need to come together to have one case before the courts so that we can have some sort of clarity instead of having different, judgments here and there?
No, I think that on the merit, the world knows, even the PDP knows that the winner of the February 25th election is Peter Gregory. So I believe that what the PDP is doing is just trying to help us prove our case, because clearly and glaringly, Peter B won the election resoundingly. And the results so far put up on the I.N.E.C server validates our claim. So I wonder why I.N.E.C did what they did on the 25th of February. I wonder why they announced that result they did on the 1st of March. I truly believe that is why our lawyers and indeed the supporters of the Labour Party and followers of Peter Gregory are convinced that when the court sits to do what they must do, they will give justice and ask that Peter Gregory be declared the president-elect of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Okay. Chris Nwokobia, Tanimu Inua, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is a lawyer to I.N.E.C in this matter. He has said before the justices, the panel of justices at the Court of Appeal that, quote, I'm quoting him here, no data or information will be lost in the course of transferring data from the BVAS to the back-end server or cloud of I.N.E.C. Not a single piece of information will be lost. So, and this is the server, I'm sure that the Electoral Act was talking about when it said electronic register. It says not a single piece of data will be lost. So, isn't that enough for you to work with?
See, the witch cried last night, the child died this morning, and you make your conjectures. It is not for us to wake up to begin to trust a commission that has shown that it doesn't even trust itself. The chairman talked about the glitches in the conduct of the election. He talked about unforeseen challenges. And we are not going to be the victims of their error. So we're insisting on due process. We're insisting on a process that we can trust. We're insisting on a transparent process, and that's the minimum to ask for. And I do sincerely think that the media should be partners in this process of ensuring that we prove that the electoral larceny of 25th of February was monumental, that they will come along with us to prove that the masses voted for a different candidate other than the one that was declared president-elect, and that they come along with us to deepen our democracy. And so our quest to investigate and authenticate the data that I.N.E.C has is germane to these fundamental issues.
Okay. What would your party be doing differently on Saturday if I.N.E.C is able to get to do all this for you? And of course, Atiku's legal team will also have their day in court today with I.N.E.C. I'm sure some of that 300 billion naira will be going to legal fees. They will be in court today again. Of course, I.N.E.C has filed an appeal to the leave granted to Atiku and the PDP to also physically inspect I.N.E.C sensitive materials. if the elections go ahead and hold on Saturday, which is a possibility it may not hold, what will your party do differently to ensure that they overcome some of the challenges they faced on the 25th of February?
Before now,
yeah.
I said clearly before now that we're not fans of assumption and presumptions. When we get to that bridge, we will cross it. But we are determined to ensure that the due process is followed. We are determined to ensure that we prove our case. We are determined to reclaim the mandate given to us by the Nigerian people, and that's the minimum. And whatever is legitimately possible and permissible, we shall do to reclaim the mandate given to us by the Nigerian people.
Okay, Chris, what I meant was looking at the challenges you faced on 25th, is there something your party is thinking of doing differently as far as maybe your agents are concerned to overcome some of the challenges that you face in terms of, thuggery, in terms of the I.N.E.C officials trying to alter results like we saw in Rivers State? Is this something your party is going to do differently on Saturday to try and protect the votes of its supporters?
We're talking to Nigerians. We're talking to the security agencies. We're talking with the election observers, and we're mobilizing our people to vote for our candidates where we're strong enough, and then looking at possible people to partner with to ensure that we have a new Nigeria, a new day and a new deal for the masses of our people. We're a law-abiding political organization, a law-abiding political party, and we believe that the time for a new day and a new dawn is now. So I think that the Nigerian people have sufficient reason to have trust in our party as we go to the polls.
All right.
Whenever I consider fit and proper.
All right. Chris, thank you. One of the things you would have to think about, grapple with probably is voter apathy. You probably have a significantly reduced number of your supporters coming out on Saturday because of what they faced on the 25th. Chris Mustafa Nwokobia is a member of the Labour Party's presidential campaign council and also convener of the Nigeria First movement. Chris, thank you very much for your time.
The pleasure is profoundly mine. God bless Nigeria.
Right. Well, thank you very much for your time. That's that. On that, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk International Women's Day, women empowerment, gender equality. We're looking at it from the prism of the tech sector. Stay with us.